Got an action-packed programme this week. We've got an exclusive interview with Russell Mark from Australia, coverage from the British Open Skeet at Dartford. We've also got an interview with Pete Wilson as part of the England Pathway and Target Tokyo, coverage from Ireland, and we also have an exclusive interview where Steve and Ally Lovatt talk openly with Phil Coley. Ally, you talked about commercialism, and in the clay shooting world, you know, a lot of people seem to think they pay a lot of money for a shoot and somebody must be making loads and loads of money. But, you know, commercially it takes a lot to run a shoot, and also the infrastructure for big competitions takes a lot of money.
It is vast. I think even we work it out sometimes and we're shocked. When you budget to build a house, they always say take a budget and double it. And to be honest, when you run a big shoot and to do it well, it's like when we did the Classic, we took a budget and we stuck to it as close as we possibly could, but come the last minute, things go out the window and you spend more on it. And then you hear people saying, oh, you must be taking shed loads home, you're sleeping on a bumpy mattress. I think, Christ almighty. Come and have a look at our accounts. But, I mean, it does pay out. That's not to say it's not profitable, we wouldn't be doing it. You don't undertake that amount of stress and time commitment to not make money. But you don't set a big shoot up in a week. I mean, I invested 6 months of time in that. I nearly lost my mind over doing the entries. Our family life suffers to a point with it. So you can't quantify how much time really goes into a shoot. Steve can say it takes 3.5 days for him to set up a shoot, and you can see that. You know, he's left at 7 in the morning and he's back at 4. But for me, it takes me a couple of hours to send the results out the next day. I always send the results out now on a Sunday night on the internet. I do the entries for the next shoot. I've got to do accounts. There's so much goes on that I think 10 years ago, maybe a couple of days a week, I could have squashed it all down into a couple of days a week.
But that's, there again, it's how we do things. It's that little attention to detail, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like for the Classic, we had all the signs, all the stand numbers printed instead of laminating them, because historically we've laminated them. The damp gets in and they run and they look tatty on day 3. So we had that's another 500 quid, and you know, we had a skip. Well, at the end we needed 3, so that's another 1,000 quid gone. It's just those little things.
And the sport is evolving and it's changing. But for you personally, what would you like to see change in the sport? How can we make the sport better?
I think the CPSA need to not modernise, they need to have a fresh look at things. I think the classification system drastically needs looking at and readdressing and changing, bringing up to date. With modern technology, whether they could change the classifications more often, more frequently, so people are in their class where they're shooting at that precise moment. That's one thing I think needs addressing. What else?
Well, people do bring up about the dress code, don't they? And there is a little bit of a point to that, I think, on the Sunday shoots. I don't think it's a silly point. It can be taken to extremes, but for example, we went to the game fair where they were shooting the county championships, and Steve was in it a few years ago and he was told he had to wear chinos, you know, cream trousers, and he went and got all that. Everybody else turned up in whatever they liked, and it looked a mess. This year we turned up and everybody looked fairly similar and really smart. You think, it does look nice. I don't want everybody turning up on a Sunday shoot wearing exactly that, but it's nice to just see people just taking a bit of an effort rather than looking like they just rocked up off the local club shoot and they put the traps out before they started the day. I know that's how Steve always looks, but
I think also
professionalism side of it.
Yeah, well, that's the key word. The buzzword at the minute is more professional, isn't it? And I think to a certain extent the Americans have set a precedent there with their professional league, and also I've got to say I'm so impressed with the Americans every time we see them, whether it was with us in 2012 or Churchill's this year. They are so immaculately turned out. you know, 5 different shirts for 5 different days. We could learn a lot off them now.
I mean, the challenge with that, and it's been interesting having the conversations over the last few months with various people, but the challenge there is the CPSA is very much tied to Sport England for funding for the Olympic disciplines, because that's where a lot of their money comes from for funding, and one can understand that. But 85% of their membership is sporting. Do you ever think there should be a separate funding channel for sporting?
Yeah, there should be. How they do it, I don't know, but it comes. We're on county committee and we're on regional committee, and it's a big topic of conversation on both. At county level, obviously the trap disciplines are sat there in the room as well, and you look at the levies that come in from trap, it's like 70 quid, and the sporting levies come in and it's 4, 5, sometimes 600 quid, and it seems really difficult then that all the fame and the glory goes down the Olympic lines and the trap and the DTL, whereas our sporting shooters are phenomenally talented, a great bunch of individuals. And that leads on to another side of it as well, which we see posted on Facebook. I know I've done it myself. I would love to see our top shots all be in the same England team. I know they won't be, exactly. But the amount of shooters out there, it doesn't matter what bickering's going on between them, they're all fantastic. But it would be brilliant to see them lined up saying, I'm supporting England, I am, all together. Just bury the hatchet for the time of the shoot, you know, and be like the Americans and punch fists and all that.
But do you think that's holding our sport back? You see all the top shots come through all your various competitions, and also we have the white gold now, which is back in its second year with yourselves and really popular. And a lot of the top shots want to shoot it, but still there is this infighting, and we do seem to be very backward in trying to take the sport forward.
I think that's British mentality as well, isn't it? Which doesn't help us.
But isn't it time the sponsors sort of stepped up to the pedestal and said, look, you will do this, you will shoot for Great Britain, you will shoot for England, if you're going to get our backing. I don't know.
That would be a certain stick, wouldn't it? The carrot's not always working, so perhaps a stick needs to come into it.
With the white gold, and it's certainly, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years, the standard of targets throughout the UK has increased and got better and better. You know, more and more course setters are now stepping up to the plate, and of course, Steve, you're renowned for your targets, and we've commentated them on many occasions. But equally with that as well, with the white gold, there are more competitions for people to take part in. Do you think we could ever have a professional league here in the UK?
I would like to think we could, but I think we've got a long way to go before it could happen.
But coming back to a point you said earlier about classifications, I think in my eyes, and I think this is where you and a handful of others buck the trend, for some people it's quite easy to change your class and go upwards, and then when you do come to a bigger event where the challenging targets are put on, they can come apart.
We've seen it time and time again, Phil, and we're going to see it next week at the British Open. We're going to see treble A and double A shooters shooting 65-70%, because whether it's logistics, whether they shoot their local grounds, they don't like travelling too much, who knows? It's an array of different things, isn't it? I always try and put a shoot on where it's won within the class, where the percentages, cut-off points. Yeah, occasionally we put a softer one on, we get a lot of high scores, but generally they're there or thereabouts where they should be.
And talking about the British, there'll be a lot of people watching this programme. They want to have a sneaky preview or have an idea of what's coming up. Can people just expect another Steve Lovatt shoot with a few tweaks here and a little challenging something else there? Yeah,
to be perfectly fair, Garland's has been a big challenge to set that up. It's as flat as that tabletop, the ground. We've hired or imported 7 scissor lift cherry pickers to get some height on the ground, varying from 32 foot to 85 foot. So there'll be a good variety of targets over 15 stones.
The British is seen as one of the majors to win, and again, with that in mind, numbers for you? You've got over 1,000.
We're creeping up to 1,100 now on the sporting. Sport trap's full. 390, isn't it? Yeah. Completely full. Believe it or not, I had a top shooter on Sunday said, I can't get in the sport trap. I thought, well, it's only been on sale since February, don't panic. But yeah, it's good, really, really good.
And again, another feather in your cap for both of you to get that kind of championship. You must be proud to have that.
We are, yeah, definitely. And that we've pretty much done with the British. The only other one we haven't done is the English Open, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the English Sporting and Fit House world. But yeah, really looking forward to this one. It'll be good.
And just one final question to you both, and again, really keen to understand the insider sort of track on this one. What key thing would you like to see changed? I know we've spoken about it, but just from each of you, one thing that you believe if that was changed, it would make a difference.
One thing I have a little chuckle to myself on a Sunday when I'm moseying around with my quad bike, filling traps and one thing or another. I wish a lot more people would enjoy what they're doing. There's far too many enter a shoot and they take it far too seriously for my liking. Just chill out, relax, enjoy it, smile, and you never know, the scores might go in the up direction.
Aye.
Mine's probably similar. My bugbear's the averages. I think probably because I do scores, the amount of conversations I hear about, oh, I shot my average, I'm blowing average, or before they've even gone out and seen the targets, I've got to shoot at 76. How can you do that? Every sporting event's different. You don't know what today's going to be. But to my mind, it compares to running a business. If you run a business and you love what you're doing, the byproduct of that will be that you earn money, God willing. And it's the same with shooting. If you go out shooting and enjoy what you're doing, the byproduct is your averages. They are just a representation of where you're at in your game. You shouldn't be out there shooting to manipulate your average. It's not about that. It's about enjoying the day, shooting the best you can and learning something from it. But the more people bang on about it and they're going to drop this score, that's a dropper, oh, don't worry about it, that one's not going to count. Oh, shut up. I really do. But I don't suppose it'll change, but that is way, way more important to people these days than I think it ever was back 5-6 years ago, without doubt. And I think that probably ties in what Steve said earlier on about changing somehow the classification system. It is wrong. C-class winning on 86, 87, 88, and it being the same, month after month at particular grounds. How does that help anybody? I can't see it does. I think you want to get there gradually, so when you do get there, you're in the right place, getting the right scores, not feeling a bit of a wally.
Well, thank you very much for both of your time, and congratulations on getting to 10 years, and here's to another 10.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil.
Russell, thanks for joining us on the line from Australia. It's a fantastic list. What motivated you to do it?
The top 20 of the world's greatest competitive shotgunners. Guess it was a list inspired by a lot of barroom debate, always a group of guys sitting around having a beer somewhere discussing who's better than who. And I decided I'd put my memory to test, and I've kept plenty of shooting records over the years and put a list together. Probably I had over 1,000 on it, then I cut it back to just under 250 and finally to 100 and then cut it to 20. It's all subjective, very hard, it's only my opinion. I'm sure there are people that will disagree and can add different people to this list, but again, it was only there to try to inspire some debate and record some of our history.
Russell, it really is a fascinating list. Who do you think will be on it if we do another list in 5 years' time?
In another 5 or 10 years, you'll see this list to be renewed with names like Jessica Rossi, maybe Glenn Eller, certainly Vincent Hancock. There's so many good young shooters coming through that I think lists like this should be updated every 5 or so years. Hope everyone enjoys it. It was a pleasure putting it together.
And thank you again, Russell. This week I took a trip to Nuthampstead Shooting Ground and I followed some aspiring youngsters who are currently on the England pathway, which is looking to link into the British pathway as part of Target Tokyo.
Sean, what's it been like being on the England pathway?
It's been good. It's training. It's something I've been lacking for a long time, really. It's just giving me that extra buzz to want to progress my shooting. It's been a massive help, really. It's something that I think's been needed for a long time, and now it's finally here. I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
So you progressed really from down the line to ABT, and now you're shooting OT.
Yeah, I started off competition shooting 2011, 2012 down the line, and then soon I was picked up by the Game Boy Academy, and they helped me progress to ABT. Spent a whole year on that, and then we've slowly moved on to UT, and now with this pathway we've moved on to OT as well.
For you, aspirations of the Olympics?
Yeah, I think I would love to shoot 2020 Tokyo. That'd be absolutely fantastic, a dream come true.
Pull! And so for you then, to see the England pathway coming through, that must be for you another really good boost to see that there's some continuity and also that there's some investment in the sport.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, even just for me, it's massive, but for everyone that's going to come along behind me or anyone that's not had the support in the first place, it's huge. It's trying to identify people who may not have had the chance before, now being given that chance. So I think it's massive, yeah.
And as you said, Tokyo is a realistic ambition for you.
I'd like to think so. I'll know closer to the time, but it's something I definitely give a massive go, and I'm going to be pushing for that, definitely, yeah.
The new initiative called Target Tokyo, that's looking very much at people who do shoot, but it's trying to target them to bring them into the Olympic disciplines.
Exactly. So there's no age limit to it. We're looking for established shooters across all the disciplines: rifle, shotgun, and pistol. Basically, there's no age limit. It's for established shooters, people that have are in competition shooting at the moment and understand what is required to win competitions. That's the big thing. It's about winning. So we're hoping to find a suitable number to take forward. And there's bundles of talent out there. It's a matter of just getting them into international shooting and hopefully taking them forward onto Tokyo and beyond. Triggers and that sort of thing. Prior to that, long or particular pressure in the cabin.
For your aspirations, you shot for England down the line. You went down to New Zealand earlier this year. How realistic for you is your ambition for getting to Tokyo?
Hopefully, I'm working hard enough, and I should be. Yeah. I'm willing to put the effort into it, trying to get there.
And do you think the pathway will help you with that?
Definitely. Yeah. What they offer is the only way, in my opinion.
I suppose when I was about 21, 22, that sort of thing, that sort of age, I was beginning to shoot my best and climbed the world rankings to world #1. And at that moment, I think I really believed that I had the ability to go on and win. Initially, you'd have to say that Richard Folds, who won the Olympics in 2000, was a massive part of my early sort of inspiration to take up double trap. My dad, of course, parents, shouldn't miss out mum, of course, but towards the sort of end of my sort of Olympic journey to London 2012, Ahmed Al Maktoum jumped on board, and for those 4 years in the build-up to London, he coached me, and I still look up to him even now. So the Olympic Games in London was a resounding success for Team GB. I had the most amazing time, and it was the sort of pinnacle of my career. Without help, you do not succeed. I would love to believe you can always succeed in anything, if you believe wholeheartedly that you are capable of it, but without help, it's nearly impossible. So I owe British Shooting UK Sport huge thank you, a huge debt of gratitude.